and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our weekly live stream. You're piling in the chat. I loved it. Look at the amount of channel members we've got here tonight on Represent. I love it. We've got Adam, we've got Chillpill, Mackenzie, Jack, Alan, Alistair, other Alistair, John, Adam, Nielsen. Thank you for the entertainment during a 10-hour drive. A 10-hour drive? Where are you driving to, Adam? 10 hours. That's a long one. Evening to everybody, even the people who aren't channel members. It's nice to see the likes of Mollify, the likes of Joe, the likes of Peter, Josh, Smell the Glove, Irish Lad. It's nice to see you. It's good to be back and alive here in the great city of Glasgow. Yeah, there was no... So, I'll get to this towards the end of the stream, because a lot of people that aren't channel members will like, what's this about? So we'll get to that at the end, but hello, welcome in. We're going to have our half an hour weekly live stream. A busy week at Celtic. It goes from 0 to 100 real quick at Celtic Football Club. Last week, struggling for content, struggling for conversation in relation to Celtic, to then go forward and into a week where it's going to be 100 mile an hour. There's going to be things to talk about every single game. Every day, sorry, I should say, about the games we've got this week. We had a great result against Hearts at the weekend, of course, and we're obviously going into a Club Bruge game on Wednesday night in the Champions League, which is massive, and then that's followed up by a game at the weekend. It's non-stop for Celtic. Just a bit of a preview as to what's going on the channel this week, just to get your fill here. We've got this live stream tonight, of course. That's one of the things that we've got going for the next weekend, the next week of content. Tomorrow we'll have the match preview for Celtic versus Club Bruge in the Champions League, including my deep dive on the opposition, including our look into Club Bruge as a club and where they are at the moment. Of course, coming off the back of a 7-0 win in the Belgian Pro League this weekend. On Wednesday, I should have a video going live on the channel with Hamish of Celtic AM. You all know Hamish Carton, the man himself. There should be a video going live with him on Wednesday morning. And then Wednesday night, we'll have the match reaction to Bruges, followed up by a video on Thursday, followed up by a podcast on Friday, and of course a match reaction on Saturday following the game at the weekend. So we've got all of that. We've got the members-only content as well, which includes a members-only weekly live stream Q&A session, and the live streams for Football Manager. Yes, I know we missed yesterday. Don't worry, it'll be back. I'll make up for it this week. Don't worry. Things came up. And we've got the Thunder Club as well. So, yeah, we've got a packed week on the channel. You know what to do if you haven't already. Please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We have over 130 live viewers in the chat right now. And, of course, if you're watching this in video form later on in the night, then you can still go down below. You can still hit like and subscribe. We're going to have a wee bit of a conversation surrounding the game and your thoughts, your questions about it. We've got Square Sausage Mix saying that Wednesday night's game is a must-win. And you know what? It's a huge game. Listen, Celtic have put themselves in a great position in Europe where, you know, if we don't win, it'll hurt, because of the success that we've put ourselves through so far and the heights that we've hit so far. But listen, we're in a really good position where things won't be drastic even if we were to lose on Wednesday night. So, listen, I don't want to talk about losing. We're not going to cover losing. Somerset to see the Mrs. Family Wee Man. How's yourself? That's a long drive. That explains the 10-hour drive. Fair play, Adam. I hope you enjoy the journey. I hope the wee man's enjoying I'm assuming his first long drive. And I'm doing well. Don't worry about me. I'm doing good. Right, so before we get into the Q&A session and before we start talking about everything that's happening ahead of Wednesday, we've got to talk about the opposition. We've got to talk about the build going into that. Celtic have put themselves in a really good position going into that game on Wednesday evening with a 4-1 win at the weekend. Obviously not as good as what Club Bruge done at the weekend, as they won 7-0 in the Belgian Pro League, as I said. But listen, it's not been a perfect season for Bruges. So I see people saying that they have a weird feeling about the game on Wednesday, which is fair. I have you've got to treat every one of these games in the Champions League with the respect that they deserve, and the oppositions with the respect that they deserve. Club Bruge are a big team. They're here for a reason. They're the current champions of Belgium. But they're struggling so far this season. They're 6 points behind Genk, who are top of the league. Genk, who themselves haven't been all that great. They've lost 3 times in the opening 15 fixtures. So Club Bruges, they've lost 3, they've drawn 4, winning 8 games in the league, 28 points behind the 34 of Genk. So yeah, there is obviously fractures in their game that I think Celtic could take advantage of. We'll cover a bit more of that tomorrow. But Celtic have put themselves in a great position. They've got Kyogo scoring again at the weekend. They've got Ademida scoring a brace at the weekend. We've got Nicholas Kuhn in the form of his career so far. And basically, I think all is good at Celtic. The defence is really clicking into, I think, the best possible back four that we've got, with the partnership of Austin Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers really blooming into what we are seeing week in, week out now. Vickers is fit, which is even more important. And the team is just firing on all cylinders. You know, it's very hard to point out any weaknesses in Celtic right now. Now, I know people will talk about how people have maybe lacked a little something. Arne Engels being one of the guys whose name has come up in that conversation. Has he been poor recently? A lot of people adhering to that and kind of agreeing with that. But not enough to make me worry. You know, it's not as if he's been beyond hopeless. You know, he's just not been hitting the heights that we'd expect him to hit. But he's not been terrible by any stretch of the imagination. And I think that sometimes when we play as well as this and we're looking for those frailties to pick out and we're looking for something to moan at, sometimes we tend as a fan base to exaggerate some of the weaknesses. And I think in recent games, some of that has been exaggerated with Arne Engels. Sorry, I've just knocked the can of Pepsi over. We're going to try and cover it all. We're going to try and get through it all. I've got a lot of questions piling in. And this is one thing that I didn't realise until today as well, is Dedrick Boyata does play for Bruges, but he's not in their Champions League squad. So people who might be hoping to see Dedrick Boyata return to Celtic Park tomorrow night, he won't be there. I don't think he'll be there in any capacity because he doesn't get a game for Bruges by the looks of it. Let me go and double check for you. I'm pretty sure though he barely kicks a ball for them. He is obviously kind of entering that kind of later stage of his career. He's 33 years of age now anyway, but Dedrick Boyata has played no games this season. And last season he played 10, 15 times in all competitions, not even 15, not as many as 15, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times in all competitions. This season, not played at all. He's not been registered as part of their Champions League squad, but I did not know he actually did play for them at the minute, which came as a total surprise to me when I seen it on Twitter earlier on, and it's probably because of the lack of football that he's actually played. So we await to see what Brendan Rodgers will say ahead of this game. We'll have his press conference tomorrow, so that'll be interesting to hear. As far as I'm aware, that Celtic are going into this game problem-free. Nobody really looks like they should be injured or anything like that. The squad walked off the park at Tynecastle on Saturday afternoon at 100%. By all accounts, so yeah, I think we're pretty much set on that front. We'll talk about obviously my team predictions tomorrow and what I'm thinking in relation to the starting team, but one of the big conversations is coming to around Bernardo and coming around Engels and who starts in that midfield three tomorrow for Celtic. Or sorry, not tomorrow. I keep saying tomorrow, on Wednesday for Celtic. I think that Celtic are in a well-placed position. You know, this is the thing. Arne Engels, he's Belgian. I'm pretty sure he's former Club Bruge player. Could be handy in a game like this. It really could be. And I think that these are the games where Arne Engels will thrive the best in, to tell you the truth. I think that the struggle to adapt in Scottish football, I think, is going to be harder for him, if that makes sense. I don't know why. But I mean, we've seen him play well in Europe so far. I think we've seen him play well domestically as well. I'm not going to gloss over and say that he's not impressed me at all domestically. But yeah, he's just, I would agree with this. I like what Richie said. You know, he's not doing anything wrong. His work is just silent at times, and I agree with that. He's done a couple of things wrong. I think to say that he's not been wrong on occasions would be unfair. I think every player does something wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I think the midfield three will probably keep Engels in there. I do. I just think that, especially with it being against a Belgian side and all the rest of it, I just think his strengths are we spent £11 million on him for a reason, to start in Champions League games. But what I will agree with was the original point is Paulo Bernardo probably is due more starts. He's a classy player. He's a good player. He's a player that I think is on decent form as well. He's just somebody who I think that has been so unlucky that Celtic's midfield is so packed with talent, because he's somebody who deserves so much more football. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. Thank you to Paul, who's become a channel member. I really do appreciate that, mate. I love that. Thank you. Welcome to the club. Hopefully you can enjoy some of the members' exclusive content over the next few weeks. But thank you for joining. It's nice to have you, and you can join the rest of your channel member friends here. Right, shall we just go into the Q&A mode? Because I've yapped for 10 minutes. In terms of news today, there isn't too much to actually cover. It is a quiet news day. It's kind of the fallout from the weekend. Rangers were hoping there was going to be big news in their front with the sacking of Philippe Clement. That's not happened. As far as I'm aware, he's still on the job, which is beautiful news for everybody involved. But let's get into the Q&A. We've got about 20 minutes in this stream that I want to just answer your questions. That's why we're here this week. We've got 200 live viewers, and I want to talk to you guys, and I want to hear what you are going to say. Big clubs do big things, and a big club will get a result on Wednesday. Is it dangerous to dream? Listen, I think we all should dream, and I think we're in a position where we should be able to be confident of Celtic. Now, it's obviously, those reservations that people have, having the feeling that something might go wrong, it's perfectly natural because it's Celtic in Europe, and at one point or another the dream has to end and something has to go wrong, and we have to be grounded to a reality that Celtic are still progressing and learning. But we've seen a lot of that progression, we've seen a lot of that learning, and I'm hoping that the biggest lesson that we learned this year was going to Dortmund and losing 7-1. I'm hoping that's the game that has eliminated and eradicated any form of mishap like that happening again. Bruges is a huge opportunity for us. I mean, if I just go and open up the Champions League table for a moment, let me go and have a look. Champions League table. If I can get it up. There we go. Celtic 15th, 4 games, 2 wins, a draw and a loss, 7 points. Club Bruges 4 games, 6 points, 2 wins, 2 losses, so only a point difference between us, but we have started incredibly well. A win could take us up to 10 points, which effectively confirms our places in the last, or the big 24, I should say, in the top 24, where you need to be to progress to somewhat of a next round. So, I think it's fair to dream. We need 3 points in these last, 4 games. I really do think we can do it, and I'm hoping that can happen tomorrow. Thank you, Alistair, who's been a channel member for 2 months. Great channel, Ryan. Great man, Alistair. That's what I'll say to you. Thank you for being a channel member for 2 months. Let's get some more questions on the go. God, I've got a sore mouth, which is really irritating me. Did you see we've pretty much had a better start after 13 games than what we did when we went invincible? Yeah, because of course in the invincible season we dropped points on a couple of occasions in the first kind of few games, didn't we? We drew up in Inverness, if I remember rightly, that season, and we drew another 1 or 2 games in this kind of opening stage of the season. And of course in Europe we're doing a lot better now than we did that season. We're on track for a really special campaign. And listen, I'm loving every single second of it, Planet Celtic. Loving absolutely every second of it. I like the new partnerships that's appeared, like Bernardo, Ida, Yang. Are they the new Kyogo, Maeda and Hatate? Well, listen, let's not jump in two-footed now. We have fantastic players, and I think that players deserve to be individuals, and I think that partnerships deserve to be individual partnerships, and I think there's a long way to go for a few players and such, especially me. I'm very critical of Yang, and I do think that there's a player deep down in there somewhere. But keep the time with it. Let the partnerships develop, and we'll take it in stages and see how it goes from there. Is the top 8 on? Says Mackenzie Coyle. Listen, if we win tomorrow night, who says we can't dream of it? Because I would love to. I fancy our chances in Zagreb. I really do. I fancy our chances there. I fancy our chances against young boys at Celtic Park. And to be honest, I fancy our chances against Aston Villa. As the season has progressed, I see weaknesses in Aston Villa's game that I think Celtic can definitely take advantage of. I see a Celtic side who have got generally better in Europe, of course. And I see an Aston Villa side that's just slowed down. And we raise our game against the English sides. We always do. Every time we take on English opposition, we do a lot better. So, you know what? I think if we win tomorrow, we can dream of the top 8. But it's not the expectation for me. I'll be buzzing with the top 24. I'd be as buzzing finishing 24th as I would be finishing 8th, because I only hoped for that this season. And I'd be gutted if we missed out narrowly or something like that. But listen, after a 7-1 loss against Dortmund, I think that you can't really turn your nose up at anything. Another invincible treble, why not? Well, need to win the League Cup first. Let's get that out of the way. One game at a time before we start discussing that. Question, do you think that Bali's played his last game in a way back to Barca? No, I don't think so. If I'm proven wrong on that, then so be it. But I don't think so. I think we might see him on Wednesday. Night, to be honest. Thank you, Aidan. I appreciate it. Fly birds fly, by the way. Another huge win last night. in the NFC. Do you feel that Kuhn will be sold almost instantly come next summer, like O'Reilly brought in, done well, sold for big cash? Hope we can get at least 3 seasons out of him. It's too early to tell. I know it's such a generic and boring answer for me, but it is too early to tell. I don't know if the interest is as serious yet or not. I think, look, listen, we enjoy him while he's here, and we don't think too far ahead into the summer. We enjoy him here and now. We'll see what happens through January. We're hearing that clubs are looking at the possibility of signing him, but will they sign him? It's a different story. Let's see. Yeah, that's nuts. Have we wore the third top yet? It's crazy to think about the fact we've not worn it. Remember that game? Was it last season? There was a game, it was like some awareness they done it for, and it was like everybody was to wear their away shirts, and it was like one of the only times ever in Celtic's history that we hadn't wore the green and white hoops at Celtic Park, like since the introduction of the hoops. Nuts, remember that? And I think we wore I can't remember if it was the last season or the season before, but you'll remember what I was talking about. We were wearing our away top at Parkhead. It was a really weird experience, but I liked it. I liked these. I wish that football would pick up a couple of things from the likes of the NBA and the NHL and the NFL. And I'm not necessarily saying that Celtic should, or football should suddenly Americanise itself, because the Americanisation of football has been a problem in recent years, especially obviously with the likes of the Super League being seriously discussed. But I love when NFL and NBA do like throwback days and retro days. I would love something like that in Scotland, like where we need to wear a retro shirt or something along those lines. Now I know that's limited with kit makers and sponsorship deals nowadays, but I would absolutely love to see Celtic wearing an old hoops kit, or at least a retro inspired hoops kit by Adidas, and every team in the country wearing a retro inspired kit for like a throwback day. It's like when the Eagles a few weeks ago were wearing the Kelly Green shirt for their throwback day, and in the NBA they have stuff like City jerseys and stuff like that. Bring that into the Scottish Premiership. I want stuff like that. You know, I would love that. So I've got a lot of questions coming in, by the way. It's a very active chat tonight. If you really want me to answer something, just keep spamming it in. I do need to keep scrolling down. The Niners have been terrible, by the way. Oh, so bad. But I'm enjoying it, I must admit. I'm sorry, smell the glove. John, do you think Rodgers will sign an extension, a member for 2 months as well? Thank you for being a member for 2 months, highlighting your comment. Brendan Rodgers, do I think he'll sign an extension? Yes, I think he will eventually. I don't think it's a priority right now in his mind, because he's still here. He's not intending going anywhere, but I do think eventually he will, and he'll keep his cards close to his chest. As long as they continue to back him and give him the reason to stay here, I think he'll want to stay here. And it's nuts because somebody pointed this out on Twitter yesterday, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. But back in 20, I don't care what anybody says, right? I understand why Rodgers left for Leicester City in 2019. I'm not saying that to rewrite history. You can go and watch any of my videos from even a mere few months after Rodgers' departure. I understood when I watched how Celtic were starting to fade away into sort of bad trends. I realised why Rodgers went to Leicester. But nowadays, I look at Leicester's job opening up and I'm going, fuck that. You know, Steve Cooper was sacked yesterday, and not one part of me thought Rodgers would go and take that. And even if it was, you know, if he hadn't done it before, I don't think he would take it, because they're in a state, and Celtic are in a good state. So the roles have reversed big time, if you catch what I'm trying to say. I just think that Celtic are run a lot better now, and it gives Rodgers a reason to stay. I think so. I know it's a marketing play, but listen. We live in a capitalism run world, you know. I'm not a fool. So, do I think that Palmazovsky? So a lot getting me. Listen, I'm glad that you've brought this up, Alistair. I've not really got to talk about this. I've not got to talk about this at all. Sam McDonald. I know who you are. Sam. But what I'll say is, when it comes to Luis Palma, I think a lot of people are reading in to the situation on Instagram the other night with him watching another game that wasn't Celtic while Celtic were still playing. And listen, I think that Luis Palma was off before that. I don't think that Palma's got a very long Celtic career ahead of him. I don't. I think that his Celtic career is numbered in terms of its days left, and I think that they'll try and get him a move at some point. But I think a lot of people are reading into that Instagram story a bit too much. The man was watching a game of football, And there's nothing to say that he wasn't switching back and forth between channels or anything. I don't think it's a big deal. I really don't, and I certainly wouldn't jump to any conclusion off the back of it. We live in a world where we need to dissect every last thing that happens, and trust me, I do it as well. I'm a fucking professional wrestling fan. When somebody posts something cryptic, I'm on it. I'm trying to figure out what it means. But I genuinely don't think that Luis Palma meant any malice in his post. And I genuinely didn't care too much about it. So that's my last thing I'd say. But I do think that he'll move on, though. I do think so. I don't think it's got any relation to what he posted on his Instagram. And I agree. I don't think it's a huge loss to Celtic. And was it that kit? I thought it was that. What a kit, man. What a kit. Palma stays unnumbered. So is the Ericsson news is garbage? I'm assuming one of the is's isn't meant to be there, but what my first reaction to the Ericsson news was is that he would be unbelievable at Celtic, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. He would be unbelievable. I'm not saying that we should do it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Maybe it is garbage, but he would be unreal. He's still such a good player. You know, I think that, you know, Manchester United is a bit too high for him in terms of level and expectation at this point in his career, especially when he's got a fucking pacemaker fitted. The intensity is maybe just a little bit too high for him. But he's one of the best footballers I've genuinely ever seen in terms of his way of reading the game. But, you know, you say that, you know, I say this, I agree with you. Naturally I would. But do you know who proved me wrong on that? Aaron Moy. Aaron Moy proved me wrong on that because I thought he would be far too slow to play for Celtic. And he proved me wrong, and he proved hundreds, if not thousands of Celtic fans wrong. I don't think the Ericsson stuff will happen, but I think that there will be some truth in it somewhere. I could definitely see him being on a shortlist somewhere around Celtic Park. But I don't see it happening. But I wouldn't complain at it happening. I genuinely wouldn't. I think it'd be a great option to have. He's unbelievable, and he still is. Slow, of course he is, but he still busts a gut. But yeah, listen, it's a bit too early to be discussing stuff like that. And I agree with that, Adam, 100%. 100%. Look, I really like Luis Palma, and I'd love it for him to come good and get through this rough time as a Celtic player. Do I think he'll be given that opportunity? I don't necessarily align with that. Ryan, you wanted Barkas, Hacksaw, and Palma, saying they would be great. Well, listen. Sometimes you got to get it wrong, you know. Sometimes you got to get it wrong to then get it right on other occasions, and I just think that I don't know. You've got to be optimistic about signings, you know. And if you're proven wrong sometimes, listen, Haxa could have been and should have been better. Things just didn't really go his way. Palmer isn't done yet. And Barkas, listen, I will die on the hill of defending Barkas. He was brought into Celtic at a rough time. It's really hard for him. And he's away being a great keeper elsewhere. So there's a keeper in there. Technically, I was right about Barkas because he showed everywhere else apart from Celtic that he's a semi-decent goalkeeper. But aye. Ryan, did you see the news story of Messi seeing his posters of Yang on his wall? Oh, he would be right to. He would be 100% right to. Have you got offered the commentary gig what a terrible question to ask, Anthony. How dare you ask that? If you got offered the commentary gig at Celtic TV, would you take that over your current role with ICW? I imagine I could make both work. I don't think Celtic would want me as commentator anytime soon. I'm open to it. I'll have it. I want the job. Just to put it out there, if anybody from Celtic TV or Celtic Football Club is watching, I'd love to be the next Celtic TV commentator. In fact, I believe I should be. But I think I could make both work. ICW is only on like once a month, twice a month at a push, and Celtic don't really play Sunday night, so I think I can make both work. If I had to miss the odd game, you know, so it's a purely hypothetical situation, isn't it? But you're an evil man, Anthony, for even posing the question. What do you think of Trump being president? Listen, we're a couple of weeks past me getting wound up. Unpopular opinion, but all 2020 signings were unlucky. It is an unpopular opinion, and Ryan Mark Colwell 118. I enjoy that. It is an unpopular opinion. Look at these emojis, by the way. What are YouTube playing at with their emoji game? But I think that, yeah, I agree. I think it was just a really difficult time for anybody to move to any club, especially if you're a foreigner and you're coming to a country like Scotland, which is freezing cold and miserable at the best of times. So it's a forgotten time. We've moved on past it. It's not. That's the thing. It's 2024 now. It was 4 years ago. Is Ryan Wilmore aware that Celtic became the most successful club in Scotland when they win, or become the most successful club in Scotland when they win the League Cup? They'll go to 119 major trophies and have the most. Will Celtic rub it in and hang banners? I am very excited for the prospect of Celtic. Look, listen. First things first. We've got to win the cup. There's no point in pretending it's already won when you know things can change on the day, and you know that Rangers will need to fight harder than they've ever fought before. Listen, this is the worst Rangers team I've ever seen in my life, hands down, and Celtic should be wiping the floor with them. Do I think Celtic will win the League Cup final? Yes, of course I do, but I'm not saying that Rangers don't have any chance. So first of all, we've got to win that trophy. But the inevitable thing that's going to happen in Scottish football in the next 2 years, or the next year, I should say, is Celtic will overtake Rangers. Whether it's in this League Cup final, or whether it's in the Scottish Cup final in May, Celtic are going to become the most successful team in the country. And Rangers are going to have an absolute catastrophic meltdown. Rangers supporters are going to be living in absolute denial, and I warn you now, you're going to have to put up with it, because they will live in denial. They'll refuse to acknowledge Celtic's success. Some Rangers fans, normal Rangers fans, level-headed Rangers fans, of course, will acknowledge that that title that they hold of the world's most successful club will no longer be relevant. But the vocal majority that we hear online, that we hear on the radios, that we see in print newspaper, will continue to tell us that Celtic are not the most successful team, because we won our trophies when they were away, because we won trophies during COVID, because we won trophies through other means, and they will put any asterisks ahead of Celtic's titles as they can to try and protect that fake, made-up, stupid, world's most successful club tagline. The reality is, Rangers have never been the most successful club in the world. They never will be the most successful club in the world, and after December 15th, there is a genuine chance that they won't even be the most successful club in Scotland. So it's going to be a really funny month coming up, and I'm really looking forward to it. But there will be some that live in denial for a long, long time. Aye. I think a lot of starts for Bernardo could see him having a Kuhn-like brilliance. I love Bernardo. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love him to bits. I think he's a great player. Do you think that we should give Daniel Cummings a chance, not over Kyogo or Ida, but have him train with the team and be coming off the bench in the league? He's been great in the B team this season. Absolutely. I think so. I think he's a young lad who has been playing well enough in the B team, well enough to deserve opportunities, and I hope that he gets those opportunities when the manager deems appropriate. I will stick by Brendan Rodgers, and if he gives him his chance, he'll give him his chance. But he's impressed and he's doing enough. Obviously, it's a huge step up. We say this about a few players. Can they handle that step up? And we're going to have to wait and see. This looks like you two. I see a striking resemblance, Sam. Thoughts in the Forest extension. I touched on this in my video yesterday, but deserved and expected. I'm not surprised at it at all. Ryan, do you think that Linda McMahon will be a successful Secretary of Education for America, or is my nation just stupid and doomed? Jason, what I will say to you is, sir, be positive. Be optimistic. I feel sorry for you. I really do. God knows how Linda McMahon is the Secretary of Education for America. But I'm so sorry. I don't even know what else to say. I wouldn't say you're doomed, but it's certainly not looking good. I was trying to be nice and optimistic for you, but it's difficult, you know? It's really difficult. Anyway, we're hitting the half-hour mark, so I think that we can probably wrap up there. Would you like us to go left field again and bring in someone like Ange when it comes to hiring managers? I'll worry about it. I'll worry about it when Rogers leaves. But thank you for tuning in tonight. As I said, we've got a packed week. By the way, 300 live viewers at the minute. If you haven't, please go down below and hit the like button. It would be much appreciated. But thank you for your support tonight's stream. It was madness, especially when there's not an awful lot to talk about. You guys made the conversation. You made it enjoyable. And I love these weekly live streams. So thank you for tuning in. We'll be back over the week with loads of content, both on the public main channel and in the members only section of the channel as well. So yeah, thank you. Take care of yourselves. Talk to you tomorrow, previewing that game against Bruges. And aye, cheerio.